We're doing an interview of Uncle Harry today on World War II.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, Uncle Harry.
Hi.
How are
Do
you
I
doing
look all
today?
right? Is my makeup on straight?
Yes, I think you're. I think you're doing okay.
Okay.
Your name's Harry Seacrest,
It was the last time I looked.
and you live in Hatfield, PA.
The last time I checked, yeah.
Okay. And you're 99 years old.
No, I'm not that old. I
No.
couldn't be that old. Nobody's that old.
Holy cow, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
Holy shit.
Okay.
So, what branch of the military were you in?
Pardon?
What branch of the military were you
What
in?
branch? I was in the Army. The Army, and you know what? It became a separate service, the Air Force, while I was in. We called it the Army Air Corps, and then they changed it to the Air Force. And I didn't have to do anything. I didn't even have to blink. It all happened over my head. All of a sudden, I just woke up one morning, and here I am.
And where did you go?
I went to Panama. Panama. I saw the Panama Canal. I saw the gates open. We went floating in through that canal. I'll tell you, it was amazing. I don't care how many pictures you've seen of it. You cannot believe it until you're there. You see the continent. You're going through the whole continent from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean through this little narrow waterway, and then you go down a couple steps through the locks. See what happens, the land is high, so they can't dig a water level canal because it would be like being in a canyon. So they have to raise you up in the steps so you can get over across Panama, and then they let you down in steps again. And they've been talking about a water level canal since I was down there in World War II. They were talking about it then. They still haven't built one. I don't think they ever will. My God, they'd be going through rock and everything. It would be a huge undertaking.
I have another question. How long were you in the military for?
In what?
How long were you in World War II for? How long did you serve?
Altogether, I was 4 years, I guess. I wouldn't think so. Yeah, I was in 1941. I went in and I got out in 1945. Well, I think I was like a few months shy of 4 years. It wasn't all that bad, but it wasn't all that good either. Most of the suffering, well, I didn't suffer because, I was in the tropics. It was supposed to be a tropic vacation, but Army food wasn't too good. They don't serve, well, they didn't at that time. Maybe they serve better food now, but at that time it was mostly junk food.
So
And I would not recommend for you to ever enlist. Don't do that. Do they still have draft? The draft is still in operation or no?
no.
It isn't? Well, good. Don't enlist. There's a fly in here, a great big fat fly. He's flying low.
What was boot camp like?
Pardon?
What was boot camp like?
Gee, it's been so long ago, I have to think back. What was it like? You think it's going to be like the Boy Scouts, but when you've been in a couple of days, you realize now this is like the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts have fun. I wasn't having any fun. You're away from home and you're lonely. You miss your home, and and there's a bunch of guys around you, and you don't realize it at the time, but you finally recognize the fact that they feel just as bad about it as you do. They don't want to be there either. So you got a whole bunch of guys around you, and they don't want to be where they are. So there's a bunch of unhappy guys. And that's mainly what the friggin' army was all about. I don't see how anybody could be stupid enough to enlist, to want to go in.
So you were drafted in, like you were forced to go.
I was what?
Were you forced to go in the army, or were you?
Yeah, drafted. See, they don't have that now, do they? The drafted.
No.
If I was drafted, your number just comes up and they call you. You have to go. It's like being in jail. Well, we have to put you in this cell now. Well, it's something like that. See, you have to go what they tell you. And then you realize it's not a democracy, it's a dictatorship. See? They just tell you it's a democracy while you're not in the army. They just tell you that to make you feel good so you won't complain. You complain anyway.
Did you see any action or battle, or no one like? Did you see any like action / battle where you just only defended?
No, I was lucky. See, I didn't realize it at the time, but you know where they sent me, Panama. I mean, it was a tropical vacation. And because we were from the north and we were down in the tropics, they didn't expect too much from us. They didn't expect us to get out there and work our ass off. Because they knew we were a bunch of old farts. We were all over 25, and they knew that being from the north, we couldn't work very hard in the tropic climate. It gets down to 90 at nighttime when the sun's, when you're getting in bed. It's about 90 degrees then. So you know how hot it must be in the middle of the day, like 110, 115. And you think when you're the first 6 months or so, you think you're never going to get used to this. And you know what? You start to get used to it.
What was your rank? What was your rank in the military? Your rank?
My rank?
Yeah.
I got up as far as I forget what I think staff sergeant. First 3 grades. That's 3 up and then 1 down. Staff sergeant. And it wasn't all that bad.
What were you doing? What were you doing as staff sergeant?
Working radar, keeping radar going. We were protecting, I didn't realize it, but we were protecting the Panama Canal zone. See, one time we were out on the Pacific side. We had the whole friggin' Pacific Ocean between us and Japan, and we were supposed to be on the alert to make sure that they didn't make a surprise attack on us like they did on Pearl Harbor. So there was so much radar and so much Navy out there. My God, I don't know how anything would, I don't know how a bird would have flown past them without them knowing it. I had an easy time in the Army. I mean, 4 years, it was, when I look back on it, I guess it was about the easiest 4 years of my life. There were times when you had to work, like when it was your turn to do KP, you had to work pretty hard. But other than that, they didn't expect much from you down there. We're all northern guys, and we're down in the tropics. It gets up over 100 during the day, and it cools down to 90 at nighttime. So that was it. But believe it or not, you get used to that climate. You get used to it. After about Well, after about the first year, you get used to it.
Oh,
And when it gets down to about 70 degrees, you're starting to feel chilly. You're a little bit chilly. It's hard to believe, but 70 was cold.
well, what was the food like when you're? What was the food like?
The food?
Yeah.
Um, well, they say a lot about army food, you know, black and all that, but it wasn't all that bad. It wasn't all that bad, especially during the war, because they're depending on you. You know, you got to perform. You got to be there and doing what you're supposed to be doing when they need you. So I know a lot of guys complained about army food, and I guess the guys in the service are still complaining about it today. But at least when I was in, it wasn't all that bad. It wasn't real good, but I mean, it wasn't all that bad.
Did you receive any medals or?
Did I
Did you receive any medals or anything like
any
that?
medals? Good conduct. I didn't get syphilis. I didn't get gonorrhea. So if you don't get venereal disease, you get the good conduct medal. I've got it somewhere. You're looking at me from around the corner.
Is there anything else you'd like to say? Is there anything else you'd like to say about it? About World War II?
What to say about it?
Yeah, anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I wasn't in the war. Well, I was in the army during the war, but I didn't get near to it. It was going on over in Europe, and then it was going on way over in the Pacific, the other side of Hawaii. So I was between here and Panama, and that's as far as I got. And I was out on the West Coast in California, and I was waiting to get shipped out to the Pacific. And a couple days before I was due to get on the boat, the war was over that quick. It got over real quick. And they sent me word, some kind of message. Your date in the Pacific has been canceled. Wait for further orders. And that was it. And the next orders I got was, you're getting ready to ship east to be discharged.
Wasn't there a huge party in California while you were out there? With the war being over.
VJ night. Oh boy. Oh boy. I was in San Francisco, big city. And the war was over. And everybody went nuts. You know, the WACs were the Women's Army Corps.
Mm-hmm.
The Women's Army. There were WACs, and there was this big statue or some kind of a big platform around. And there was a bunch of WACs up there, and they were doing a striptease, taking an article of clothes off and throwing it down to the GIs. The GIs mean the soldiers. And a bunch of guys around there cheering them on, and they're doing a striptease up there. And that was VJ night, the night that Japan surrendered. And the whole country was just going nuts. And I was one of them. But I was too friggin' drunk to really get into it. I would have been like to have been up there with the wax taking their clothes off. I was too friggin' drunk, and I was lucky to be able to stand up. And we were going through San Francisco, screaming our heads off for a while. And finally, we got back to what was it? The Service Club. It was an organization that catered to soldiers and sailors. So we got back there somehow, drunk as the Lord, and went to sleep. And I got up. I woke up sometime, I guess, probably near noon, I guess. And I got up and got washed and dressed, went out in the town, and This was San Francisco, and they're still celebrating. I guess there's a lot of people that didn't even go to bed. There's a lot of other things that I remember from time to time, but right now I'm sort of.
What about any friends or family that were in the war? Did you know about any friends or family?
About what?
Friends or family that were in the war?
Friends and family?
Yeah, anyone knows.
Oh, I had cousins who were in the army. Some of them, I think, there's one of them was in Europe. And I was out in, well, I was supposed to be out in the Pacific, but I was out on the West Coast waiting to be shipped out. You know